The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November the 21st, 2025. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again this morning by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. Presented today, Caneswear, your headquarters for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs and wants, particularly with Black Friday weekend coming up, with holiday shopping coming up. There is no better place for you to go than Caneswear. We'll talk a little bit more about them in a few minutes, but Matt, the countdown is on. The Canes go to Blacksburg, Virginia today to play Virginia Tech tomorrow at noon. I mean, it's an understatement to say it's a game they must have. I'm going to say it's a game they must have big. This is one where style points matter, the way this whole college football playoff thing is going. And I don't think they could just go up there tomorrow, Matt, looking for a win. I think they need a convincing, resounding blowout win, quite frankly, against a Virginia Tech team that's reeling. I mean, the best thing that's going on in Blacksburg right now is they're celebrating the arrival of James Franklin, but he can't impact this season. He can't make an impact till next year.
Oh, wow. That was my turn. That was an abrupt ending.
It's yours, man.
You need to write your scripts a little better.
I didn't have a script. I just said I
could tell. I was being facetious. I know you didn't have a script because all of a sudden you stopped talking in the middle of a sentence, basically.
Well, I'm setting you up.
Look,
now your followers can...
the most important thing this weekend isn't if Miami beats Virginia Tech. They're going to beat Virginia Tech, or kills Virginia Tech, or looks good. The most important thing is they need teams to lose ahead of them. Like, fans who think, including Gary Ferman, that Miami magically will be ahead of Notre Dame at the end of the season are deluding themselves, you know. And Dave Hyde, I've had people reach out to me about the Dave Hyde's column saying that the CFP got it right. But the truth is the CFP is doing Miami a favor, right? Because the AP poll, which is voted on by writers, national writers who've done it for years and years, they have Miami lower in the rankings than the CFP poll. The coaches poll, which is voted on by coaches, little peons, they pretend they would do it themselves, but still, they're even lower than that in the coaches poll. The CF poll has them higher than the two other major polls, and everyone's still complaining. And, you know, I was talking to a booster about this yesterday, but the real culprit in all of this, you know, it's almost like political, right? Fans should be angry at the loss to SMU and what caused that loss, because that's the loss that's killing Miami. Louisville's an okay team. SMU, you know, fans probably don't realize this because Gary didn't realize it when I told him the other day. But listen to how bad SMU is. You know, fans are like, oh, you know, SMU's a good team. It's not such a bad loss because, right, the CFP keeps talking about the loss to SMU, the loss to SMU. Oh my God, the loss to SMU. Well, here's why they keep talking about the loss to SMU. Okay, SMU, their wins, they haven't beaten a single team except for Clemson, and I'll call Clemson decent, even though they're not, right? Here's SMU's wins this year, okay? I'm not making this up. East Texas A&M, Missouri State, Syracuse, Stanford, Clemson, Boston College,
Miami.
And that's it. They haven't beat a single good team except for Miami. Their losses, they lost to Baylor, okay, by 3 points, not terrible. They lost to TCU by 11. They lost to Wake Forest by a point, right? So, like, that's the real culprit here. The real problem here is that the game plan Miami had against SMU was awful. And nobody wants to blame the coaches. I get it. We're Miami fans. We don't blame the coaches. But the coaches are the ones to blame. Like, everyone's blaming the CFP for not doing, you know, why aren't we ahead of Notre Dame? But Dave Hyde's column, I thought, was fair. I know fans are pissed and they hate Dave Hyde. I get it. But he's not wrong. He's honestly the most respected journalist in South Florida. I mean, would you agree with that, Gary?
That works for a newspaper, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Well, those of us that don't, we're just losers, you know. He's been doing this a long time. He's not in, you know, he's not doing this for clicks. He can care less about clicks, all right? He belonged to the same gym I did, the 24/7 fitness before it closed down. It was a disgusting gym. This is not a dude who's pie in the sky, Mr. Almighty, okay? When I belonged to that gym, it was open 24/7. I would go in the morning, and there was a dude who would sleep on the bench at night and use their showers. Like, that was his rental unit, I guess. I don't know. Like, it was a disgusting place. Dave Hyde belonged to it because he's a normal guy. He's like a low-level schmuck like myself. He doesn't care about this stuff up here and fans liking him or whatever. He just tells it how he sees it. And for those of you that read his column, like, he's not wrong. Miami, you can argue that
that's what he said. You're telling us he's not wrong. I mean, how many people?
Well, his headline is CFP rankings got it. I assume people understand. His headline was CFP rankings got it right. Okay. Because Miami lost 2 games.
Right. Okay.
Because Miami lost 2 games, including one to an SMU team that has beaten 0 people all year and has lost games to average teams, and that's a bad team. And Notre Dame's lost to 2 top 13 teams. Like, those were their 2 losses. And fans just want to look at the wins. I get it, right? We beat them head-to-head. That's it. That's all that matters. But Dave's pointing out, well, they're mentioning the losses for a reason, right? Because Miami and Notre Dame, you can say they're pretty even with each other, right? 2 losses, both programs. They're pretty even against all spectrums. It was the first game of the year. They barely won at Miami, right? First game for a starting quarterback who's gotten a lot better since. If you put him on a neutral field right now, Notre Dame's probably favored, right? So I get it. And that's why they're pointing to the losses, because it's the only reason the CFP has to punish Miami. And Miami fans want to say to the CFP, you're wrong, but we should be blaming the coaches, because those 2 games, they were out-coached, they were out-schemed, they didn't prepare their team correctly, and it's so frustrating. And everyone wants to point at the CFP, but I'm saying point at everybody. It's not just the CFP's fault. The AP has them lower than the CFP. Blame every writer in America then. The coaches poll has them lower than the AP. Blame every coach in America, or should we be pointing inward and saying this needs to be better? Like, if we make the playoffs, it doesn't make it all go away. It isn't that, oh, we fixed it and we're great now. They haven't played a good team since they lost 2 out of 3. We don't know if anything's fixed. You could say Carson Beck felt the best throwing the ball he has all year last game. Well, that's maybe because everyone was open and he had all day to throw. Maybe. I'm just speculating. Maybe that makes it a little easier to have the ball come out of your hands good when there's nobody near you the entire game and everybody's running free down the field against the second worst secondary in the country. Maybe. I'm just speculating. I'm sure I'm wrong. And it's going to be the same damn thing this weekend. We're going to light it up against Virginia Tech. Pittsburgh will be a test. Pittsburgh's going to be the first test since they lost 2 out of 3. I don't know that anything's fixed, that anything's not fixed. I know we have a great defense, but I'm still not sure the offense is going to be great or good or even average. Like, it's inconsistent on offense. And when Carson Beck gets pressured, he makes mistakes, and he hasn't been pressured since 2 out of 3 losses. So, like, I don't want to sit here and be a sunshine pumper and say, don't worry about it, just win out, we'll be in, like a lot of fans are saying. I don't want to be a sunshine pumper and just say, we're better than Notre Dame, we should be in the playoffs. Like, Miami right now, I don't know that they deserve it. They lost 2 out of 3. They haven't played anybody good since. I want to know they're a better team than the one that lost 2 out of 3. And that's what the CFP wants to know and the AP wants to know. And the coaches poll wants to know. And we may not get an answer because Pittsburgh was just blown out by Notre Dame. And I don't know what else Miami can do right now other than have teams ahead of them lose. So I don't care if they beat Virginia Tech by 1 point or 50 points. I don't think that's going to move them up. I think the only thing that's going to move them up at this point, because the other polls have Miami lower, is teams in front of them losing. I don't think Miami being 1 spot behind Notre Dame is going to push them ahead of Notre Dame. I know fans say it'll happen. I don't think it will. I don't think the CFP will do it.
I do.
We need losses from other teams. We don't need Miami to dominate. That's my new thing. Like I was saying a few days ago, they need to dominate. Now I just think we need teams ahead of us to lose.
No, they got to dominate because they got to get in that same pool that they're calling it. They think it's the World Cup.
Nobody's going to jump Miami if Miami wins.
No,
except for USC. Except for USC,
they got to get in the same pool as Notre Dame, so that then the committee will put them.
This is what I just addressed. I don't think they're going to do it. I don't think the committee will do it.
I don't think they can not do it.
Okay.
I mean, we'll see. We'll see who's right if it ends up happening. But all right, so Dave Hyde is a good writer. I just looked at.
Well, remember the reason I say they're not going to make it is what did the committee say for why Miami's ranked where it is? They didn't say, oh, well, Miami beat Notre Dame, but they said Miami has 2 bad losses and these other teams don't. So how's that going to change anything? Well, how's it going to change? I don't understand.
Because I think BYU is going to lose. I think Utah hasn't beaten.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We need those teams to lose, right?
Yeah.
But then if it's Miami versus Notre Dame for the last spot, Gary, I'm telling you right now, they're putting Notre Dame in. You watch.
I don't think they will. No, I don't think they.
I know you don't. I know you don't. I'm telling you they will. You told me last year, you said the exact same thing last year about Alabama, Miami. Oh, when they're next to each other, they'll move Miami ahead of Alabama. Don't worry about it. I said, no, they won't. And they didn't. Now, both teams didn't make it, but they never moved Miami ahead of 3-loss Alabama. You said Miami has 2 losses, Alabama's 3. There's no way they're going to definitely move them up by the final poll. Don't even worry about it, you said to me. I said, they're not going to. And we're sitting here again. I'm telling you the same damn thing. They're not going to move. They're not moving Miami ahead of Notre Dame, even if they're 9-10, 10-11, whatever it is. They don't want Miami in the playoffs. They're going to point to those 2 losses. They're going to say Notre Dame, that was just the opener, and they've had 2 losses to top 13 teams, and Miami has 2 terrible losses. They both have 2 losses. That's it. Like, you watch. I'm telling you.
Said they would. They pretty
much 3-point win in the first game of the year on the road. You know, that shouldn't carry much weight. They're going to find any way they can to screw Miami, and you just are blind.
Well, they might, but they pretty much said that they would not. They pretty much said
they did not say that. They said they didn't consider them head-to-head because they're not close enough. They didn't say Miami will be ahead of them if they're close
enough. Notre Dame's not going higher. They got to get close enough.
They never said they'll put Miami ahead of Notre Dame. They said they don't even consider it. That's all they said.
Yeah,
you're like reading into things that don't even exist. You're like, are you in QAnon? Are you QGaryon? You're creating your own religion.
No, first of all, I think their system's ridiculous, but they said their system is pools. Okay?
Their system's terrible.
And they're pooling teams that are near each other in the polls. Okay, great. Have fun. Great process. Okay, the problem that has evolved from this poll is that they put Notre Dame at 8th and Miami at 18th. So Miami hasn't been anywhere near Notre Dame. I mean, that is patently absurd, but this is what they did. Okay. So Miami has to get up next to Notre Dame. And the only way to do it is to keep leapfrogging teams either that lose or that they suddenly start deeming Miami to be better than. The only way you can convince them you're better is if you're winning by a large margin and looking really good doing it. So I think style points are everything.
Do you think they'll jump over the teams ahead of them who are playing better opponents just by winning by a lot of points? That's your theory.
I think the better opponents thing is arguable. I mean, Utah hasn't necessarily had better opponents.
Virginia Tech is the worst team anyone's playing this week that's ahead of Miami.
But I'm saying BYU hasn't necessarily.
I'm talking about this week. This week, Miami beats Virginia Tech by 40 points, and Utah wins by 7. Right? They're favored by like 12.5 or 14 or something. Like, I'm just saying I don't understand what you're saying. I think these teams seem to lose. I don't think Miami looking great is going to leapfrog anybody when these other teams are playing good teams this week. That's all I'm saying.
They could. They could. Remember,
this you say that. You're living in a Miami fantasy land. Let me ask you something. If you were Notre Dame, if you were covering Notre Dame right now, and you were a Notre Dame fan or whatever, you're a Notre Dame publisher of Notre Dame.
I would understand that they lost to Miami.
You'd be saying Miami should be ahead of us. Miami should be ahead of us. They earned it. That's what you'd be saying?
I absolutely would if I was being objective.
I'm sure you would. Now we know you're telling the truth.
Objective. I mean, they lost to Miami. Yeah, and the game wasn't even anywhere near as close as the score suggested.
You don't see there's 2 different sides that have different arguments? You really don't grasp that, do you?
I think that everybody has an argument based on their interests, but the point I'm making is I don't think it's out of the question that Miami can get up on into that group with Notre Dame.
Yes, in the grouping. And then you think they're definitely going to be ahead of Notre Dame in that situation. That's definitely going to be ahead.
If they are in that grouping with Notre Dame, that the committee will absolutely have to put them ahead of Notre Dame.
This is called Garyanon, because you are forming your own religion that has no basis in reality. They never said that. They never said they'll do that. All they said is they haven't considered it because they're not even close to each other. And when they do consider it, the only thing they've actually said is that Miami's 2 losses were to bad teams, and that's what's costing them. That's all they've actually said. And when they look at Notre Dame and Miami head-to-head, and Notre Dame has 2 losses to top 13 teams, they're going to screw Miami. I'm telling you, they're going to screw Miami. And it's Mario Cristobal's fault the whole damn time because SMU sucks. They never should have lost to SMU. And fans are misplacing their anger at a poll that actually has them higher than in the AP or the coaches poll, when the anger should be placed where it was originally, which is the Shannon Dawson offense, Mario Cristobal's complementary style of football, which created this mess in these 2 losses. And like that needs to be fixed and addressed. And if they don't address that and acknowledge it and fix it moving forward, then what are we even doing here? Like, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of losing to teams they shouldn't lose to every damn year and being in this situation where we're hoping and praying and groups and this, like stuff that doesn't really, like, what's a grouping? They just made up some term. I mean, it's like ridiculous. And at some point, Miami has to not leave doubt, not let these other people decide for them what their future is going to be. And all you got to do is beat some crappy teams. It shouldn't be this hard.
All right. I'm not going to argue with you because we were talking in August about how this needed to be a season where they did not lose
Yeah.
to these inferior ACC teams, and they did. They lost 2 of them. When you do that again after the way last season ended, and you come and you do it again, and really in the same way, I mean, because you think about the Syracuse game last year, they had a 3-touchdown lead in that game, and they gave up the lead. I mean,
Listen, I'm upset with the CFP. I don't like that they originally put Miami 18th in retrospect, right? I know we thought they deserved it, but now it's just too hard to get in the playoffs. But people have forgotten the anger that's misplaced also, that has to be pointed at Miami. So this doesn't happen every damn year, right? There still needs to be that anger that Mario recognized that there's a problem. Mario recognized maybe there should be another offense quarter. Mario recognized maybe we don't need complimentary. Maybe we don't need complimentary football. Just score a ton of freaking points and stop worrying about, these long time-consuming drives to keep your defense fresh. Like, as he makes his analysis, which he sort of has ingrained in himself, this is what his method is. There needs to be a reckoning on his end so it doesn't happen again, because it's happened every year. Well, not every year. The last 2 years here, it's happened to them at Oregon. They lose games they shouldn't lose because they keep other teams in it through these stupid decisions or a bad coaching call or whatever it is. It happens every damn year to him. And I've just had it. Like, I'm so frustrated with this.
Yeah, I mean, there's things they just have to do better, and I don't think it's like, oh geez, let's fire a coordinator again. Let's fire.
No, but he needs to make some hard decisions. He needs to look in the mirror and say, did I cause this or did Shannon Dawson cause this? And can it be fixed next year? Can it be corrected? Because Shannon Dawson with a great quarterback is a great coordinator, and Shannon Dawson with a inconsistent quarterback is not a great coordinator. So what will it look like next year? Do I need to go a different direction? Like, that answer that he makes for this program will be the difference next year between playoffs, maybe competing for a national title, and being in the same damn situation again. You can't live like this every year, just like praying and hoping that 3 teams lose ahead of you in the final 2 weeks of the season.
Or that your coordinators can put 12 games together. I agree. I mean, I agree. Putting 9 games or 8 games in a season where you're looking great isn't good enough. And I mean, you have to know, like, and we've talked about this. I'm not going to go on and on about this because we have. The warning signs were everywhere. I mean, everywhere. The way Notre Dame came back, the way Florida hung in the game.
Yeah, everybody. You see it coming, and we've seen it coming in the past years too. And we say we've seen it coming, and it's so. I mean, I know I'm fans are probably pissed because I'm not saying everything was great and amazing, but like,
you're a little fired up this morning.
I'm just frustrated. I'm frustrated because I'm looking at the numbers. Like, ESPN has it with a 26% chance of making the playoffs, and that's probably about right. Like, it's just frustrating that we're in this situation because of the games they lost, when they lost them, and how they lost them. And there's, you can say, well, we belong ahead of Notre Dame because we beat them and stuff, but like, at the end of the day, we screwed up. Like,
the problem that I think they have, Matt, is everything's reactionary. Okay, like they're not out front saying we are not scoring enough points, because they weren't. Okay, they weren't. Even in the games they were winning, they were not scoring enough points. They were not consistently getting into the 30s week after week after week. And, that should have told them then, we need more firepower in our attack. We need to be more wide open. We can't keep running the ball up the middle with, as much as we love Mark Fletcher and as good as Mark Fletcher is at the way we were using him, we can't make that the staple of our offense. I'm watching the basketball team last night, and I'm watching Trey Donaldson jacking up shot after shot after shot. He is not a good shooter. Okay, so Jay Lucas is going to have to figure out, I can't have Trey Donaldson out there, taking 15, 20 shots a game. He does not make enough shots. We won't score enough points. I think Jay Lucas is going to have to make some adjustments to what he's doing, but he's still feeling his way. But it's not that different than what football went through. It's like, we need to be a little bit more wide open. We can't be this conservative and predictable as what we are, because we are not scoring enough points doing this. Okay, Carson Beck, on your way to 5 interceptions, essentially, against Louisville. They are not covering the flats. You have to take the flat. You have to take the flat. We're taking the flat the next 5 times. We're going to make them come out of that defense, which will open up our downfield passing game again. These are the little things that aren't happening over the course of a season a few times a year. and that's why they're losing games. Against SMU, Rhett Lashley, after the game, flat said, my game plan was to stay within one score until the fourth quarter, because I felt if I could get them into the fourth quarter, that I could then dial up the plays to win. And sure enough, that's what he did. They have not been scoring enough points. They did last week against Virginia Tech. They did against Syracuse. Like you say, those are not good teams. Virginia Tech this weekend is not a good team. You have to be in the high 30s in this game and win this game by 3-4 touchdowns and have style points behind you. Because when you go to Pittsburgh next week in 30-degree weather, it's going to be a lot tougher. And but it's just got to be a little bit better, Matt. And it doesn't mean everybody's got to get fired and you have to replace Shannon Dawson.
No, I didn't say get fired. Anybody said he has to evaluate.
That, but a lot of people are. And
he has to do a fair evaluation to decide what this should look like. Yeah.
Right. And how can he do his job better? Does he need more? Right. Does he need a few more plays in his playbook?
And by the way, here's an idea, by the way. I don't know if we did. I think I spoke to you about it privately, but we never brought it up on the show, I don't think. But like, there's a 2-week portal window that becomes the difference between being a championship team or just the same team that loses 2 games every damn year. And like, from my understanding of where they sit right now, they're just doing their standard evaluations like they've always done. When it was a massive portal window, right, and there was 2 of them, and senior transfers go whenever they want. Transfers, who graduated rather, can go in whenever they wanted. Like, there's a million different options, right? So now everything's 2 weeks. No more transfers are allowed to. No more graduates are allowed to transfer. There's no other second transfer window. So that 2 weeks is basically the evaluation and getting those guys on your campus for visits before January 26th or 25th or whenever the hell the school enrolls its student athletes. Like, that's when everyone's going to decide. Before then, so you basically have 3+ weeks to evaluate or know who's going in the portal, get them on campus, convince them to come, and get them enrolled, right? That's it. That's a very small window when the season's going to end mid to late December, and you have signing day in early December. Like, whatever program is best positioned financially, evaluation-wise, and prepared to like tackle the 1,000+ players that they are going to have to evaluate is the one that's probably going to be best positioned for next season, right? But you already have agents who probably are giving you tons of names that you need to be looking at, that every other school is already looking at.
Yes, of course.
My point is, they needed an Alonzo Highsmith type who is just in charge of the 2 weeks. Like, his whole year salary is just for 2 weeks of work. And like, they need that guy. I think it's so important. And that should be that person's only job, because that's the difference now between being great, identifying not just and getting those guys, identifying where your own team's weaknesses are. It's a massive job to not just do the roster evaluation, but also evaluate all these names that come in from agents, figure out what fits.
Yeah, but that's going on, I'm sure, already, now. But the first step you got to do is decide who you're bringing back from your team before you could figure out what your needs are in the portal. There's a lot for them to do, and you're not wrong about that, but I'm telling you that they've done that. They know, as we are sitting here right now at 5 a.m. in the morning on a Friday, as we get ready to go to Blacksburg, they know what they think about their roster. They know who is going to get the good NIL deals and who isn't, and who is going to be locked up to stay.
Like I said, that's only part of it, right? You need to be able to understand who's going in the portal, how the evaluation is done. It's a 2-week window.
But you don't know everybody that's going in the portal. Yes, you've gotten some calls from agents exploring, would you be interested in my guy?
All I'm recommending is I hire somebody to do it. It's just a little bit of money. I don't know why you're so against it.
They had Alonzo, and they didn't give him anything to do.
Correct.
I just think you're underestimating what they do internally. Like, I guarantee that. Look, listen, let's divide this.
So then you're the one who argued for Alonzo. So they don't need Alonzo anyway. They could do it all internally. Like, what are you talking about? You said they need Alonzo. Now I mentioned they need Alonzo again. You're like, no, they don't. They don't need Alonzo. They can do it themselves. Like, what are you talking about?
They did need Alonzo, and they needed to let Alonzo.
Now they don't. Now they don't need him, according to you. I don't understand what the hell you're talking about.
They did need him. The evaluations weren't good enough.
I literally said to hire a new Alonzo because it's too important. And now you're like, no, they don't need it. They can do it themselves. They know their roster. They could do it. They'll figure it out.
This past year, they did a better job. Okay, if they can replicate that again, they're fine.
This last year, the second portal window is when they did it all.
Matt,
they don't have a second portal window. Don't pretend like it's the same system.
You got to do it all in one. Yes, but listen to me. This is the deal. You have steps to this. Your first step is that you have to decide who's staying and who's going from your current team. Okay, because you can't assess your needs until you know what your roster looks like going into next year. You're signing your freshman recruits on December 2nd, I believe it is, and you will have already made all your decisions from the current roster. So on this, right after signing day, you are going to know what you have in house going into next year, and then you have to make an assessment of what you need. Okay, then once you make that assessment, agents are going to, that whole month of December, agents will be going crazy. Like they don't go in the guys don't go in the portal till early January, but the agents are going to be working like maniacs in December, feeling out different teams about their guys to decide whether they want to go in the portal January 2nd. So by the time the portal opens, I think the programs are going to have a pretty good idea what they're doing. Are there going to be guys that pop in there that they weren't expecting? Yes, absolutely. But it's not going to be like, you're not going to be caught with your pants down on that many guys, because the agents are going to drive this whole thing. So it's not the panic situation, Matt, that you're presenting, that we're sitting here yelling at each other about. It's really not. And I don't think it's crisis central at University of Miami football headquarters. I think that they'll have a plan to deal with all this. And the calendar actually is not terrible in that regard, because you do have a month between signing day and the opening of the portal to work through everything. And they will. The important thing is the evaluations. And they need to do as good a job of evaluating who they go after in the portal as they did this year.
What do you think I was just talking about?
Yeah, that's absolutely going to be the key. But it has nothing to do with going and hiring somebody new. I mean, they did a good job this year with the people they have in-house now. They just got to do a good job. The first few years of Mario, they didn't do a good job. Last year, they did a good job.
If they were consistently doing it for 4 straight years, whatever system they had in place, they got good it's been 4 years, by the way. They got good transfers every year, okay? I'd be like, okay, great. But they've failed. 1 out of 4 transfer portal hits in terms of years that they got really good portal guys. That's 25%. That's a failing grade. And you're sitting here saying they did it fine last year, so it's fine. Well, they did it once right out of 4 years. So you're assuming that it wasn't just lucky. FSU got lucky.
They do it as well as they did last year. I didn't say it's fine.
Did FSU get lucky? Did FSU get lucky that 1 year, or did they figure it out? Oh, wait, they didn't figure it out because then they sucked again.
Listen, like they did a pretty damn good job this year, okay? So if they can maintain that level of evaluation, they're going to be fine. As far as
if you were covering FSU, you'd be saying the exact same thing after they went undefeated in the regular season, and you'd look like an idiot.
And hopefully it'll be good enough. If this year it was good enough, first couple years it wasn't.
Yeah.
Anyways, so the bottom line of all this is, we can sit here and yell at each other all day, but there's a lot that's going to be going on, and it's going to be real important stuff. And there's no givens. But step one, which is taking place right now, is making decisions on the current roster. And I personally don't think it was not coincidental that Jordan Lyle didn't play against NC State. I mean, maybe I'll end up being wrong on this. I thought it was a little weird that he didn't play at all against NC State. I'm wondering whether Jordan Lyle is going to be headed for the portal. Because they got too many running backs on the roster. And running backs make money, and you can't pay everybody and make everybody happy, especially when they're not playing. And Jordan Lyle has contributed nothing this year. Now, would he train like a maniac and come back better next fall? Absolutely. But then what are you going to do, with Pringle and Mark Fletcher's going to probably be back, and Marty Brown's going to probably be back. And, you got too many guys. You got freshmen coming in. And Wheatley Humphrey, I got to believe, is going to be headed to the portal. So some of this stuff is coming into focus right now, is all I was trying to say. And it's not as overwhelming as it seems, because the portal doesn't open until January. So there is time to work through all the things they have to work through. But the bottom line is, going to Blacksburg this weekend, I think that they need a really resounding victory to keep the momentum going with the committee. Like, you can't give this committee any reason not to move you up in the rankings, because the only way you're getting into the playoff is if you get into that pool.
Yeah, I know. Listen, I 100% agree. But if you can do one or the other, this was my point earlier. If you could either have a blowout win or just win versus having 2 or 3 teams lose ahead of you, the teams losing ahead of you is way more important.
I got to pick one or the other. I can't go for both.
You can try, but it's more important that you have the teams ahead of you win. I mean, the teams ahead of you lose. Like, that's what's the most important. You're fixating. You're doing what Miami does, which is just worry about us. Don't worry about anyone else. That's not how the CFP works. If you win every game, the last 2 games in a blowout, and the other teams ahead of you win, you're not in the playoffs. But if those teams lose and you win by 1 point in both those games, you're going to be in the playoffs. So let's just win and have those teams lose. I don't think style points matter as much as you're saying, as long as those teams lose.
All right, let's take a moment and hear from our friends at CaneSport.
Welcome to CaneSport. New store, new items, same great experience. Family owned and operated since 2010, CaneSport has the latest merchandise from the Miami Hurricanes, Miami Dolphins, Florida Panthers, Inter Miami CF, and more. Come visit us at our store in Davie on University Drive, just south of 595, or online at caneswear.com. CaneSport, the spot Miami fans shop.
All right, guys, this holiday season, and it's time to get to know CaneSport really well, because what better gift is there to give your significant other, your kids, family members, friends, than a U logoed item? And at CaneSport, they got a little bit of everything. They got T-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, flags, magnets. If they put a U logo on it, they have it. And no problem with the sizes. You get all adult sizes, and for men, women, kids, and babies, and they'll even dress your pet. If you want to get your pet something for the holidays, you can find it at CaneSport. So go to their store at 2655 South University Drive in Davie, if you live in South Florida, or you could shop them at caneswear.com 24/7, 365. That's 2655 South University Drive in Davie, or caneswear.com for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. And CaneSport will appreciate seeing you here during this holiday season. All right, Matt, so we got a few other things on the website today to keep people busy. We've got several recruiting stories. A story on running back Joel Irvin, who Miami's continuing to keep an eye on. You never know. They might make a late run at Irvin. A story with Anthony Jennings and the Gavin Mueller, the recent tight end commit. We talked to his coach about what kind of player the Hurricanes are getting from him. We've got our You Bet CaneSport feature with Lee Sterling. Make sure you check that out. Lee's always very insightful, and we talked this week about some of the other big games in college football. But that's going to do it for today for Good Morning CaneSport. I'm going to let Matt go and chill out and bring his blood pressure down a little bit. He's a little jacked up, man. Matt, you're fired up today. I don't I'm used to negative Matt.
Getting down to the end of the season.
Wow, you are
like, bringing the bad juju.
Oh my God. Woof. Anyway, for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. Thanks so much for joining us this morning, everybody, and we'll see you next time.